Hello, my name is Dicken Bettinger. Stacy Levine asked me to say a few words to you about grounding. Talk to you for a little bit about what grounding means, or personal grounding. And I'm doing this just for you folks at the seminar there at Tikun. So I like the term grounding. It's a metaphor. And so let's start by playing with this metaphor a little bit. You've all heard the expression coming down to earth, all right? Or you've heard the expression, you've got your head in the clouds. I used to live with my head in the clouds. Well, psychologically, what does that mean to live with your head up in the clouds? Up in the clouds is to always be thinking about things, to be preoccupied, to be distracted from the present moment because your mind is always busy and filled with things. And before I learned the principles, I wasn't very grounded. I was always thinking about my life, thinking about my problems, thinking about things, because I thought that was the only way that I would be able to resolve my problems. It was the only way I could figure out what to do, right? So that's one way of understanding grounding, is that you begin to learn something that helps you fall out of your own personal thinking and discover another world that's always there, deeper, right? We're using the metaphor of coming down to something deeper, more fundamental, more true. So let's build on this now and talk about grounding as it ties into the principles. Right? So as I learn about the principle of thought, I begin to discover that I live completely in the world of my own thinking. So that everything I experience is created from the power of thought and not from the world. Now, when I started to learn that, the more I began to see that whatever I was experiencing was not coming from the world or from other people. People weren't making me upset, or they weren't making me sad, or they weren't hurting my feelings, or they weren't causing me joy. Right? All of those experiences were feelings created from thought. I began to wake up to the enormous amount of thinking that I was doing that was not particularly helpful. It was making me tense or stressed or anxious or upset, and I began to see that as being created from thought, and I got more interested in where it was coming from. So in the past, I'd always been interested in the content of my thinking, but I wasn't really paying much attention to the fact that I thought, or the power that was creating my experience. Our spiritual nature, this formless creative energy that we call thought, well, that's looking away from the surface content of our experience toward where it's coming from. So that's bringing you down to earth. It's coming down to something metaphorically more fundamental. And that's really what principles are, that which is most fundamental. Consciousness, waking up out of my personal awareness to what allows me to be aware. Right? So that when I would wake up to the fact of thought, I would fall out of my personal thinking more and more, and as my mind quieted down, I became more present, more aware, more awake. Right? So grounding is becoming more aware of the fundamental experience of consciousness, the fundamental nature of consciousness, that still, quiet place of awareness that's always there underneath the babbling, as Sid Banks would say, the babbling of your thought system. He'd say when your personal thinking quiets down, divine mind comes in. Out of that quiet space, you begin to tap into the intelligence of mind. And we call that wisdom. Right? So you begin to see that underneath our personal thinking is this space that is filled with this deeper intelligence. This deeper intelligence we call wisdom. So grounding then is beginning to discover what's beneath or behind, and you begin to fall into, metaphorically, you fall into a quieter space where this deeper intelligence can begin to live through you. And when deeper intelligence or wisdom lives through you, you begin to feel better and think better. Right? Then we say, well, a person who lives their life more fully lived by wisdom is more grounded. They have more common sense. They have more understanding. They're more loving. So they're more grounded. So that's another way of understanding what it means to be more grounded. Well, I hope this little introduction to grounding has been helpful for you. It's a wonderful